Have you ever met someone and felt an immediate, almost shocking flicker of connection, a sense of soul recognition that vibrates through your entire being? It's a feeling so pure, so disarmingly warm. It feels like a sign from the universe, a piece of your own destiny clicking into place. Perhaps they looked at you in a way that made you feel seen for the first time. Their smile a sanctuary in a world that often felt cold and indifferent. Maybe they spoke the exact words your soul had been yearning to hear, echoing the silent conversations you've had with yourself in the dead of night. This connection feels real, a divine alignment, a comforting presence that promises shelter from the storm. But then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, a dissonance begins to creep in. A shadow falls where light once was. You start to sense that something is off, a subtle discord in the beautiful melody you thought you had found. By the time your heart catches up with what your intuition has been screaming, it's already too late. You realize the warmth was a calculated heat, the connection a meticulously crafted illusion. They already have what they wanted from you, your energy, your trust, your light. You understand, with a chilling finality, that this wasn't charm, it was precision. This wasn't destiny, it was a design. This experience is a sacred wound, a painful but necessary initiation. If this deep, unsettling story resonates with the core of your being, if you've ever felt the sting of this profound disillusionment, know that you are not alone. Your journey is understood here. Let us know in the comments if you've walked this path, because your story is a testament to a powerful awakening. Like and subscribe, for this is not a warning. It is an invitation to understand the incredible power you were forced to forge in the fire of deception. The world, in its current frequency, does not reward the soft-hearted. It does not celebrate the tender soul. The very virtues that make you a beacon of light, your profound empathy, your unwavering kindness, your exquisite sensitivity, are so often treated not as divine gifts, but as vulnerabilities to be exploited. Have you been the one in your family who felt everything? The emotional sponge, absorbing the unspoken sadness, the simmering anger, the quiet desperation of everyone around you, carrying burdens that were never yours to begin with, until their weight threatened to crush your own spirit? Have you been the one at work who listens, truly listens, to the struggles of your colleagues, offering a piece of your soul as comfort, only to find your own energy depleted, your own boundaries dissolved, your own wellspring running dry? Perhaps you've known the unique agony of loving a narcissist, of pouring your boundless capacity for love into a black hole, a void that reflects nothing back but a distorted, hollow version of yourself. You gave your all, believing your goodness could heal their brokenness, only to be left shattered yourself. You are the one who feels the pain in a stranger's eyes, who understands the unspoken history behind a forced smile, who actually hears the truth beneath the words people speak. And because of this divine sensitivity, you are so often the one who gets chewed up first, the one whose light is drained to fuel the agendas of those who live in shadow. Your softness is mistaken for weakness. Your kindness is seen as an opportunity for exploitation. Your forgiveness is treated as permission to transgress again and again. You are told you are too sensitive, too emotional, too much. They make you question your own sanity, your own perception of reality, making you believe that your greatest gift is, in fact, your deepest flaw. But what if that sensitivity, the very thing that made you a target, was never meant to be a weakness? What if the universe allowed you to endure these trials not to break you, but to alchemize you? What if every tear you shed was polishing a blade not of aggression, but of discernment? A blade so sharp it can cut through any illusion, sever any toxic cord, and protect the sanctity of your inner world. This is the sacred crucible where the Dark Empath is born. Not as a predator, and certainly not as a manipulator in the way the world understands it. No, the Dark Empath emerges as a survivor, a sovereign being who has finally learned a crucial universal law. Your energy is a sacred resource, and not everyone has earned the right to your light. You are someone who felt too much, for too long, for too many who gave too little in return. You are the one who bled your heart out onto the cold, hard ground of others' indifference, and finally, with a quiet and unshakable resolve, you decided to stop bleeding. You chose to cauterize the wound, not with bitterness, but with wisdom. You chose to reclaim your life force, to turn that immense power of perception inward, to heal, to fortify, and to build an empire within your own soul. This transformation is your spiritual armor, forged in the very fires that were meant to consume you. The Dark Empath walks through the world as a living mirror. Your presence becomes a reflection, a powerful and often uncomfortable truth for those you encounter. Because of the depth you have traversed within yourself, you can now see the hidden wounds behind every mask of bravado. You perceive the trembling fear behind every empty threat. You feel the cavernous emptiness within every loud, boastful proclamation. But here is where the profound shift has occurred. You no longer get pulled into their chaos. You are no longer the rescuer diving into their stormy seas, only to drown alongside them. You have become the lighthouse, standing firm on your own solid ground, observing the tempest without becoming it. You use what you see not to exploit, but to protect. You see the game, and you simply refuse to play. You don't exploit the emotions of others. You have endured enough of that yourself. Instead, you endure your own emotions and the emotions you perceive in others with a newfound mastery. You carry the storm in silence, allowing it to pass through you without leaving a trace of destruction. You can walk into rooms and feel the energetic landscape as if it were a physical map. You already know what everyone is hiding, not because you are psychic in a fantastical sense, but because you have become so attuned to the subtle frequencies of human nature, to the vibration of truth and the static of deceit. And in a world that is built to crush the sensitive soul, a world that feeds on drama and thrives on manipulation, this silent, all-seeing awareness is a terrifying and formidable power. You don't become this way by conscious choice. You are forged into this state by necessity. You become this way because your innate kindness, offered freely and without condition, was not enough to protect you. It didn't work. You become this way because your raw, unfiltered honesty was used as a weapon against you, your truths twisted and turned to make you the villain in someone else's story. You become this way because being good, in the way the world defines it, nearly got you destroyed. It left you broken, depleted, and questioning the very essence of your being. So now, a profound change has taken place. You don't raise your voice in anger anymore. You've learned that true power resides in quiet composure. You don't feel the desperate need to explain yourself, to justify your boundaries, or to prove your worth to those who are determined to misunderstand you. Your existence is no longer an apology. You simply observe. You absorb the data of the world around you. You adapt your energy, not to please others, but to preserve your own peace. You have learned, through painful and repeated lessons, to control the flow of your empathy. This is the most crucial skill you've mastered. It is not a tool to manipulate others, but a shield to protect yourself from them. You understand the direct correlation. The more you felt without discernment, the more you got hurt. So, you stopped trying to be understood by everyone. Instead, you began the sacred work of understanding everyone, and in that process, you learned to trust no one implicitly. You trust your own finely honed intuition above all else. You trust the patterns you've seen, the energetic signatures you've learned to recognize. You trust yourself. Let's be clear, the Dark Empath is not heartless. To be heartless is to feel nothing. You feel everything, perhaps more deeply than ever before. But you've just had to build a fortress around your heart, burying the parts that kept getting stabbed by the same daggers, held by different hands. You have learned to protect the sanctum of your soul, the sacred inner chamber where your true essence resides. And once you reach that point of profound self-preservation, there is no going back. You rise. Not to dominate the world, not to enact revenge, but to survive it without being broken by it again. You don't scream to the world that you've changed. You don't post your declarations of empowerment or preach your newfound wisdom from a soapbox. You simply become someone they can no longer access. Your energy is no longer available on demand. Your peace is no longer negotiable. That's how the Dark Empath truly rises, not with chaos, not with cruelty, but with clarity. A cold, beautiful, crystalline clarity. You stop explaining yourself. You stop defending your kindness as if it were a fault. You stop giving people endless second chances just because your empathetic heart can feel the source of their pain. Because one day, you have the most profound realization of all. Feeling their pain doesn't mean you have to carry it. It is not your burden. It is not your responsibility to heal everyone who is broken, especially those who broke you. That is the pivotal turning point, the moment of true liberation. For your entire life, you've seen people more clearly than they see themselves. Their hidden joys, their secret fears, their carefully constructed lies, their profound and aching loneliness. These things have always been loud to you. A constant broadcast of spiritual and emotional information that others seem to be deaf to. Even when hidden behind polite smiles and meaningless small talk, you felt the truth of their inner world. But before your transformation, that incredible insight only made you vulnerable. It made you a target. You saw their pain and you tried to help. You saw their brokenness and you tried to save them. You saw their potential and you tried to love them without limit, hoping your love could be the catalyst for their own healing. And what did you receive in return? They used your insight. They drained your energy. They took what was soft and pure in you and mistook it for weakness. They took your love and gave you lessons in betrayal. They did this again and again and again. Not because they were all inherently evil, but simply because you were open. You were an unguarded source of light, and in their darkness, they were drawn to you not to learn how to ignite their own flame, but simply to warm themselves by yours, leaving you cold and spent. Until one day, you didn't break, you hardened. That's the alchemical shift. That's when the empath becomes something else entirely, something sharper, something quieter, something far more precise. That's when you finally become the Dark Empath. But you are not the villain they will paint you to be. You don't manipulate. You've had enough of that game. You don't deceive. Your soul craves authenticity. You don't scheme. You operate from a place of higher truth. You simply stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even offer you a bandage. And to a world that thrives on energetic transactions, that silence, that withdrawal of your light, is terrifying. You begin to watch more than you speak. You begin to listen not to comfort, but to remember, to catalogue, to understand. You become observant, strategic, and emotionally precise. You no longer feel the need to call people out on their inconsistencies or their falsehoods. You let them reveal themselves, and they always do. You don't argue. You simply vanish from their lives, closing the chapter yourself without seeking their validation for its ending. You now use your emotional radar not to fix people, but to avoid them, to read them before they can even shape a sentence, to know exactly when someone is lying, flattering, pretending, or probing for a weakness. You can walk into any room and feel what everyone is hiding. You don't flinch. You don't speak on it. You just adjust your position, your energy, your engagement. And that adaptability, that silent control, is what now makes you so powerful. Not because you play games, but because you no longer allow anyone else to play them with you. You don't seek their approval. You don't need to be liked. You no longer sacrifice your sanity just to belong. You belong to yourself now, and the world hates that. It despises a soul that has become self-contained, self-validated, and self-sufficient. Because most people are performing, constantly. They are addicted to attention, dependent on reaction, controlled by their desperate need to be accepted. But not you. You have trained yourself to thrive in silence, to stay calm when provoked, to walk away with dignity rather than cling with desperation. And that is the real threat. Because nothing terrifies weak people more than someone they can't guilt, can't shame, and can't manipulate through feigned kindness or a manufactured connection. They are faced with someone who sees through them completely and yet still refuses to participate in their drama. They will call you cold. They will call you selfish. They will say you've changed. And you have. You've stopped sacrificing your soul just to make others comfortable. The Dark Empath doesn't use emotion to destroy. They use it to survive. They don't weaponize empathy. They wear it like armor. They still feel deeply, but only for those who've proven they are worthy of that sacred gift. They still connect, but never again, at the cost of themselves. In a world where sensitivity is exploited and silence is mistaken for weakness, becoming a Dark Empath isn't about turning evil. It's about becoming immune to guilt, immune to manipulation, immune to the endless noise of people trying to use your goodness against you. And once you've reached that state, once you've finally accepted that not everyone deserves your light, you don't just survive the world. You move through it like a shadow, untouchable, unbothered, unshaken, because nothing is more dangerous to the imbalanced world than a person who has the ability to feel everything and the discipline to protect themselves from all of it. You're not heartless. You've just stopped announcing your heart to people who treated it like a doormat. You're not cold. You've just stopped burning yourself alive to keep others warm. But that's not how the world sees it, is it? Because when you were open, gentle, and forgiving, they smiled. When you gave them unlimited access to your time, your emotions, your energy, they called you pure. But the moment you changed, the moment you put up a boundary, the moment you said no, without a long, apologetic explanation, suddenly you became difficult, arrogant, cold. That is the great paradox of the Dark Empath. You feel everything, you understand everyone, but no one truly understands you. And that's not an accident. It's by design. Because once you've been burned enough, you stop broadcasting your soul. You learn to read the room without revealing your hand. You let others speak while you silently decode their patterns. You let them misunderstand you because their assumptions reveal more about them than your explanations ever could. They call you mysterious, distant, maybe even dangerous. Good, let them. The more they underestimate you, the more space you have to move undetected. The more they project their own issues onto you, the more they expose their own weaknesses. And the less they understand you, the more power you hold. Because here's the ultimate truth that you have come to embody. Power isn't in being seen and understood by the masses. Power is in being unreadable. People fear what they cannot categorize, what they cannot easily define. And the Dark Empath doesn't fit into any of their neat little boxes. You're not a simple manipulator, but you are no longer naive. You're not cruel, but you will not tolerate disrespect. You're not loud, but your silence is deafening. You sit in rooms where everyone is pretending to be confident, pretending to be happy, pretending to be in control, and you see through it all. You know who's lying to themselves. You know who's pretending to like you. You know when someone's being fake nice just to disarm you. And instead of confronting them and engaging in their low vibrational games, you simply observe, you collect the data, you catalog the behavior, and you let people dig their own graves with their own performances. And that is what makes you truly powerful, because you're not trying to prove yourself anymore. You're not trying to fix people. You're not trying to be liked. You're playing a different game now, one they can't even see. It's not about domination. It's not about control. It's about liberation. You've freed yourself from the need to be understood, and in doing so, you've become immune to their opinions. Their praise doesn't move you. Their insults don't touch you. They don't know who you are. They never did, and now they never will. Because the Dark Empath is a paradox they can't solve. Soft but untouchable, kind but unyielding, emotional but never ever out of control. You walk alone, not because you hate people, but because you have finally realized that not everyone deserves access to your presence. You became selective. And in this age of desperate cries for validation, being selective is a revolutionary act. Let them call it arrogance. Let them say you've changed. They're right. You've changed in the most dangerous way possible. You feel everything, and you own nothing. And the more misunderstood you are, the safer you become. They think emotional intelligence is soft. They think reading people makes you weak. They think feeling too much means you'll get eaten alive. But here's what they will never understand. When you're a dark empath, emotions are not a liability. They are a weapon. You walk into a room, and your spiritual radar switches on. The tone in their voice, the twitch in their eye, the fake laugh, the tight smile. You don't just hear words. You read the truth under the words. And that's where your power lies. You are not reacting. You are calculating. Most people walk blindfolded into emotional traps. You see the trap before it's even built. You see the betrayal before the handshake. You see the knife while they're still smiling. That's what true emotional intelligence really is. Strategic survival. You're not out to control anyone. You're not out to play games. You are out to protect your peace in a world that profits from your chaos. And the irony is, the world only praises emotional intelligence when it serves them. When you use your empathy to heal others, they love you. But when you use your empathy to protect yourself, they fear you. Because the moment you stop bleeding for everyone else, the moment you redirect that emotional depth inward towards self-respect, boundaries, and your own vision, they no longer benefit from you. You're no longer the emotional mule. You're no longer the soft shoulder for their mess. Now, you're a mirror, and mirrors terrify people who hate their reflection. They'll say you've become too serious, too distant, too intense, but really, you've just become aware. You've stopped explaining yourself. You've stopped justifying your silence. You've stopped smiling just to make others comfortable, because you've seen what most people miss, that in the real world, empathy without awareness is suicide. The dark empath doesn't fall into that trap. You have weaponized your ability to feel. You can sense hidden intentions before they surface. You can feel manipulation like a temperature shift in the air. You can walk away without warning because you don't need confirmation anymore. You've seen enough. This isn't paranoia. This is pattern recognition. The ones who call you cold are the ones who can no longer control you. The ones who say you're too sensitive are the ones who can't handle your insight. And the ones who think they've fooled you? You saw through them a long, long time ago. But you say nothing, because you've learned. Silence is sharper than confrontation. Your emotional intelligence is no longer a bridge for others to walk across. It's a fortress. It's a filter. It's how you survive the unspoken wars of daily life without the scars they can see. This is not about being heartless. It's about being heart-smart. You're not shutting down your feelings. You're locking them behind a wall with a code only you know. You observe people first. You let them show you who they are. And when they think you're easy to read, that's when you disappear from their script entirely. You are not their story. You are the editor. You no longer beg to be seen. You choose who sees you. And in that choice lies your ultimate power. The dark empath doesn't need to manipulate because they already know the outcome. They don't need to control others because they have finally mastered themselves. And in this cruel, noisy world, that is the most dangerous, most beautiful power of all. There comes a moment when the war inside finally ends, not because the world stopped attacking, but because you stopped reacting. You're not broken. You're not angry. You're just done. Done with the performance. Done with the noise. This is where the dark empath becomes something even more dangerous. Something truly untouchable. You've studied human nature like a battlefield surgeon. You've seen the lies, the betrayals, the sweet smiles masking sharp intentions. You have given people more chances than they ever deserved, and you have the scars to prove it, but not anymore. Now, you operate in silence. Now, you move like a shadow. You have built a world within yourself that no one else can enter unless they earn it. Not beg for it, not cry for it, not manipulate their way into it. Earn it. You no longer explain your absence. You no longer defend your boundaries. You no longer participate in the drama, the noise, the endless guilt games, because you have mastered the art of detachment. They think you're cold. They think you've changed. And they are right. You have evolved. The Dark Empath has crossed the line from emotional survival to emotional sovereignty. You don't chase people anymore. You chase purpose. You chase truth. You chase peace. You have turned your empathy inward, and now it protects you. It no longer poisons you. Because you have learned the most vital lesson of all. Being good is dangerous when the world feeds on good people. So you stopped bleeding to prove your worth. You stopped over-explaining to be understood. You stopped showing up for people who wouldn't crawl for you after you walked through fire for them. And now you're free. Not the kind of freedom that screams and boasts. It's the kind of freedom that walks away without a sound, no closure, no announcement, just silence. You've learned to smile without trusting, to listen without absorbing, to love without losing yourself. This is the final form of the Dark Empath. Not someone who plays games, but someone who refuses to be played. You don't expose people, you let them expose themselves. You don't fight for your place. You walk into the room and command it, not with noise, but with presence. They feel it, the weight, the quiet authority, the unreadable eyes, because you've become a mirror that reflects nothing back unless you choose to. You're not an open book anymore. You are here to survive, evolve, and dominate your own reality. With empathy sharpened into intuition and silence honed into power, they can't understand you, they can't control you, they can't even reach you. You've become what the world fears the most. Someone who once cared deeply, but no longer needs anyone else to breathe. You've become the ghost they can't haunt, the soul they can't seduce, the heart they can't break. They said kindness is a strength, that empathy will save the world. They said that if you just keep being good, everything will eventually fall into place. But you've lived long enough to know that's a lie. The world isn't fair. It doesn't reward the pure. It exploits them. It doesn't protect the sensitive. It crucifies them. And those who feel deeply are the first ones left bleeding. You tried to do it the right way. You gave. You forgave. You stayed loyal even when it cost you. And what did it get you? Disappointment, betrayal, loneliness. So you stopped trying to be someone's hero and you started becoming your own weapon. That's what it means to be a dark empath. Not evil, not manipulative, not heartless, but strategic, aware, and dangerously self-controlled. You didn't lose your empathy, you simply stopped wasting it. You learned to read people without giving them a map back to your soul. You trained your mind to feel everything but obey nothing. You mastered the power of silence. And most importantly, you stopped apologizing for your strength. Because here's the truth. Most people will never say out loud, the world doesn't care about your good intentions. It only responds to leverage, presence, and quiet power. And the Dark Empath has all three. You don't scream for attention. You command it by simply existing. You don't manipulate people. You allow them to reveal themselves, and you act accordingly. You don't fear abandonment. You choose solitude over foolish loyalty. You don't beg. You observe. You don't chase. You attract. And when you walk away, it's final. This is not about becoming cruel. It's about becoming untouchable. You are still capable of love, but it's no longer blind. You are still kind, but with boundaries as sharp as razors. You still feel, but you don't let those feelings run your life. You have taken your pain, your silence, your emotional depth, and turned them into armor. You are the wolf that blends into the flock until the moment it matters. And by then, it's too late. The world will misunderstand you. They'll call you cold, calculating, distant. Let them. You don't need validation from the same people who once tried to break you. You're no longer trying to fit in. You're building a throne from the pieces they tried to bury you under. This is your power. You didn't become a dark empath by accident. You were forged in chaos, sharpened by betrayal, strengthened by every time you had to stay silent while being torn apart. And now you stand alone, not because you couldn't belong, but because you chose not to kneel. You see the world for what it is, a game, a battlefield, a stage of masks, and you walk through it all, eyes wide open, unbothered, unbreakable. That's why you're dangerous. Because you feel everything and still play to win. Because you know darkness and don't run from it. Because you have empathy, but not for fools. You're no longer trying to save the world. You're building your own. And to anyone watching who's felt like they were too soft, too emotional, too broken to make it in this world, understand this. You don't need to change who you are. You need to stop handing your power to people who never deserved it. Become the Dark Empath, the one who listens, understands, and never forgets. The one who no longer asks, only acts. The one who rises alone and never falls again. This world doesn't need more smiles. It needs more people who know pain and still move forward, who carry empathy like a sword, not a weakness. So if this resonated with you, this is your sign. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and send this to the quiet one who's about to rise. Because your story isn't over, it's just begun. And now, the world will learn what happens when someone who feels deeply stops playing nice. You are the Dark Empath. You were made for this.